we have a new, never-before-seen video recorded behind the scenes during the invasion of Iraq 20 years ago.
The story of Gilgamesh's tomb is one of those mysteries that feels like it belongs in a movie, but the more you look at it, the more you realize there might be some truth hidden beneath the desert sands of Iraq. To understand why archaeologists and even soldiers became nervous about it, we need to start at the very beginning, with the legend of Gilgamesh himself. Thousands of years ago, long before Rome, long before Greece, and even long before the Bible was written, the Sumerians of Mesopotamia told stories about a mighty king named Gilgamesh. These stories were later collected in what we now call the Epic of Gilgamesh, the oldest written story we have. In these ancient tablets, Gilgamesh is described as two-thirds god and one-third human, a ruler so powerful that he built the walls of Uruk, one of the first great cities of the world. But Gilgamesh was not loved by all. In fact, many of the stories say he was cruel, arrogant, and selfish. He took what he wanted, including other men's wives, and forced his people to work endlessly for him. To balance his power, the gods created a wild man named Enkidu, who became Gilgamesh's best friend after they fought each other. Together, they killed monsters, defied the gods, and sought fame. Yet their arrogance led to tragedy. When Enkidu died, Gilgamesh was crushed with grief. For the first time, he realized he was mortal, and the fear of death consumed him. That fear drove him on a desperate journey to find the secret of eternal life. He traveled across deserts, seas, and even to the edge of the world, meeting wise men and strange creatures. In the end, though, the gods made sure he failed. He returned home, older and wiser, but still mortal. The epic ends with Gilgamesh standing proudly on the walls of Uruk, realizing that though he would die, his legacy would live forever. That is the story most of us know. But what about his death? What about his tomb? Ancient texts say that when Gilgamesh died, his people gave him a burial unlike any other. According to legends, they diverted the flow of the Euphrates River, the great lifeline of Mesopotamia, to carve out a hidden chamber beneath its waters. Inside that chamber, they built a tomb fit for a king who was part divine. His body was placed in a sarcophagus, surrounded by treasures, inscriptions, and perhaps even knowledge that the world has never seen. Once the tomb was sealed, the river was allowed to flow back over it, hiding the king forever. Over the centuries, the Euphrates shifted, dried, and moved, but the story of Gilgamesh's resting place never disappeared. It became a legend whispered among locals and scholars. Many dismissed it as pure myth, but some believed it was real. Fast forward to the early 2000s, when technology suddenly allowed humans to scan deep under the earth without digging. German archaeologists working in Iraq used ground-penetrating radar near the site of Uruk, and what they found shocked them. They reported seeing the outlines of massive walls, halls, and even what looked like a burial chamber. Their equipment showed structures underground that matched the ancient descriptions almost perfectly. If true, it meant they had found the lost tomb of Gilgamesh. But then, just as quickly as the news appeared, it disappeared. Reports were deleted, the team went silent, and Iraq was thrown into chaos as the United States invaded in 2003. Many people believe the discovery was intentionally hidden, that someone wanted to keep whatever was found in that tomb a secret. When the invasion of Iraq began, the focus of the world was on weapons of mass destruction, oil, and politics. But for those who were watching closely, strange stories started coming out of the desert. Eyewitnesses claimed that U.S. military vehicles were seen near the very site where the German archaeologists had been working. Rumors spread that American forces had secured the area not to protect it from looting, but to secretly excavate it themselves. At the same time, the National Museum of Iraq in Baghdad was looted. More than 15,000 priceless artifacts were stolen, many of them from the dawn of civilization. Among them was the famous Gilgamesh Dream Tablet, which contained part of the ancient epic. Years later, that tablet surfaced in the United States and was sold for millions before being seized and returned. But if something so rare and connected to Gilgamesh's story could be stolen so easily, what else might have been taken? Some people believe the Americans removed items from Gilgamesh's tomb itself. This is where the conspiracy theories begin, and though we cannot prove them, they refuse to go away. Some claim the tomb contained advanced Sumerian technology, perhaps knowledge left behind by the gods the Sumerians worshipped. Others believe the tomb might have contained a body so well preserved it could unlock the secrets of human longevity or even genetic power. A more extreme theory suggests that the tomb held a stargate, a kind of portal to other realms, because the Sumerians often wrote about gods who came from the heavens and returned to the stars. To believers of this theory, the U.S. military went into Iraq not just to fight Saddam Hussein, but to recover ancient technology that could change the balance of power in the world. While many dismiss these claims as wild fantasy, there are enough strange details to keep the story alive. For example, some reports from locals near the site describe strange lights at night, heavy machinery working underground, and soldiers guarding the area with extreme secrecy. Archaeologists who had once spoken openly about the find suddenly stopped giving interviews. Equipment from the German team disappeared, and all digital records of the scans seemed to vanish. Beyond conspiracy, though, there is another reason archaeologists might fear opening the tomb: curses. In Mesopotamian culture, the dead were believed to be protected by powerful forces. Disturbing a king's grave could bring disaster not only on the person who opened it, but on their whole community. Similar beliefs are found in Egypt, where tomb curses warned of death to those who disturbed the pharaohs. Modern scientists often laugh at curses, but history records many strange accidents after tombs were opened. In Gilgamesh's case, the fear was not only of curses, but of what his tomb might represent. Imagine if a body thousands of years old was discovered and it was not just a skeleton but something preserved in a way science could not explain. Imagine if inscriptions inside the tomb revealed knowledge about the stars, medicine, or even immortality. For some, that knowledge could be dangerous, changing the balance of religion and science forever. And so, even if the tomb really has been found, it might be safer, in the eyes of some, to keep it sealed. But then there is the darker possibility: what if the tomb was opened, and something was released? What if there were things inside meant to stay hidden? Some legends say Gilgamesh himself wanted immortality so badly that he sought forbidden knowledge. If his tomb held any trace of that, would opening it be worth the risk? These are the questions that keep the mystery alive. Today, more than 20 years after the supposed discovery, the mystery of Gilgamesh's tomb has only deepened. Archaeology in Iraq has slowly returned, and excavations have revealed temples, palaces, and artifacts that prove just how advanced the Sumerians were. Yet the site near Uruk, where the radar scans were made, remains largely untouched. Some say it is because of political instability. Iraq has been through wars, violence, and unrest, making it dangerous for scientists to work freely. Others say it is because of the sheer difficulty of excavation. If the tomb really is under the Euphrates River, or under layers of sediment left by the river, then uncovering it without destroying it would take years of careful planning and millions of dollars in resources. The heat, dust storms, and shifting soil only make it harder. But still, the silence feels unusual. Normally, archaeologists love to announce discoveries. They want the world to know, because it brings funding and recognition. But in this case, silence has ruled for 2 decades. Theories continue to grow online. Some believe the U.S. did indeed take artifacts from the tomb and move them to secret labs. Others think the tomb has been left alone because of fear of curses, fear of disease sealed for thousands of years, or fear of what the world would learn if the story of Gilgamesh turned out to be more than myth. Imagine if a body really was found, and tests showed unusual DNA. Imagine if inscriptions inside proved that the gods of Mesopotamia were not only legends, but visitors from beyond the earth. Such discoveries would shake the foundations of modern belief systems. Religions, governments, and even science itself might be forced to rewrite history. That is why the Tomb of Gilgamesh has become more than just an archaeological site. It has become a symbol of the unknown, a reminder that ancient history may hold secrets far stranger than we can imagine. And it raises a haunting question: do we really want to know what lies inside? Because once the tomb is opened, there is no going back. We cannot unsee what we find. We cannot put the secret back into the ground. Maybe that is why archaeologists, whether by choice or by force, have hesitated. Maybe the fear is not about curses or politics, but about the simple truth that some mysteries are too big for us to handle. For now, Gilgamesh sleeps beneath the sands of Iraq, his tomb hidden, his story half legend and half reality. But one day, perhaps sooner than we expect, someone will open it. And when that happens, the world may discover that the oldest story ever written is not just a story at all, but a record of a king who refused to be forgotten. Until then, the tomb of Gilgamesh remains one of the greatest and most chilling mysteries of archaeology, waiting silently beneath the desert, daring us to uncover its truth. For as long as humans have walked the earth, we have been fascinated by what lies beneath our feet. Every culture, every civilization, has left behind ruins, tombs, and secrets waiting to be uncovered. Archaeologists are the brave men and women who dig into that unknown world, brushing away the sand and dirt to reveal fragments of the past. Most of the time, they find pottery, tools, or carvings that help us understand how ancient people lived. But sometimes, very rarely, they stumble upon something so strange, so powerful, that even the bravest archaeologists hesitate to touch it. And few stories capture this chilling feeling better than the whispers surrounding the tomb of Gilgamesh. Before we begin with the discoveries of the modern age, let us step back thousands of years to the land once called Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. Between the mighty rivers of the Tigris and the Euphrates, humans learned to build cities, write laws, and record their thoughts in cuneiform on clay tablets. From this soil rose the Sumerians, Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians, peoples who shaped much of what we now consider the foundations of human society. They built temples called ziggurats, traded across deserts, and created myths that still echo in stories told today. Among those myths stands one towering figure, Gilgamesh, king of Uruk. Unlike many ancient legends, Gilgamesh was not just a mythological hero. Historians believe he was a real king who ruled around 2700 BCE. His name appears in king lists, inscriptions, and poems. But over centuries, his story grew larger than life. He became more than a man, he became a demigod, a symbol of strength, pride, and the endless human search for immortality. His adventures, battling monsters, defying gods, and seeking eternal life, were written down on clay tablets, making the Epic of Gilgamesh the earliest surviving work of literature in human history. This epic, discovered in fragments by archaeologists in the 19th century, revealed not only thrilling tales but also deep questions about life and death. Gilgamesh was mighty, but he could not escape mortality. His grief for his friend Enkidu and his desperate quest to avoid death speak to something we all feel, the fear of time, the longing for life to last forever. That is why Gilgamesh still fascinates us today. But the story does not end with his written adventures. For centuries, rumors have persisted that Gilgamesh's body was hidden in a tomb unlike any other. Ancient texts describe how his people diverted the Euphrates River to bury him beneath its waters, sealing his remains and treasures away from the world. Unlike ordinary graves, this tomb was meant never to be touched again, protected by gods and by the river itself. For thousands of years, the exact location of this tomb was lost. Wars, floods, and shifting sands erased much of Mesopotamia's glory. Cities crumbled, temples fell, and whole cultures vanished. Yet the name Gilgamesh lived on, passed down in myths, etched on broken tablets, and whispered by generations. Archaeologists wondered, was the tomb real, or just another part of the legend? Some believed it was just a poetic ending to the epic, while others thought there might truly be a hidden chamber beneath the sands of Iraq. This is where our journey begins. We will explore the legend of Gilgamesh, the alleged discovery of his tomb, the conspiracies that surround it, and the reasons archaeologists remain fast forward to the 20th and 21st centuries. Modern technology allowed us to see underground without digging. Satellites, radar scans, and other tools could reveal walls, chambers, and ancient foundations beneath the earth. Suddenly, the possibility of finding Gilgamesh's tomb became real again. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, a German team working near the ancient city of Uruk used ground-penetrating radar. What they saw stunned them, the shapes of massive walls and structures buried below, exactly where the tomb was rumored to be. For a brief moment, the impossible seemed possible. Could they have truly found the lost resting place of the first great hero of literature? And then, almost overnight, everything changed. Reports that had been published online vanished. Interviews with archaeologists went silent. And in 2003, the U.S. invaded Iraq, throwing the region into chaos. Tanks rolled through ancient lands, bombs fell on cities older than history books, and in the middle of it all, archaeological treasures were looted or destroyed. But some whispered that the invasion wasn't just about politics or oil. Some whispered it was also about Gilgamesh. Why? Because if the tomb truly existed, it might hold more than bones. It might hold treasures, knowledge, or even technology beyond our understanding. Some theorists claim it could even hold the secret to eternal life, the very thing Gilgamesh sought in his epic journey. Others say the tomb itself might be cursed, guarded by forces that punish those who dare disturb it. And so, the mystery of Gilgamesh's tomb is not just a story about archaeology. It is a story about fear, fear of curses, fear of hidden power, fear of what humanity might discover if we dig too hesitant to open it even today. Along the way, we will ask difficult questions. Is it possible that a 4,000-year-old king still holds secrets that could change the world? Or is the tomb nothing more than a myth, magnified by war and imagination? Either way, the story of Gilgamesh's tomb has captured the attention of archaeologists, soldiers, and dreamers alike. And as we step into this mystery, we must remember one thing: sometimes the past does not want to be uncovered. Since the beginning of time, humans have been drawn to the past. We build monuments, write stories, and bury our dead with care because deep inside, we all know that time is fragile. Every civilization wants to leave behind a mark, a memory that says, "We were here." That is why archaeology is more than just digging in the dirt. It is about finding pieces of lives that came before us, pieces that tell us who we are and where we come from. But sometimes, archaeology goes beyond pottery and tools. Sometimes it touches something so mysterious, so powerful, that it sends shivers down the spine of even the bravest explorers. The story of Gilgamesh's tomb is one of those cases. To understand why this tomb has sparked such fear, fascination, and controversy, we must travel back thousands of years, to a place many call the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia. This was the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, in what is now Iraq. Long before the pyramids of Egypt, long before Rome, this land gave birth to cities, laws, and writing itself. People built temples called ziggurats that reached toward the sky, traded goods across deserts, and carved their lives into clay tablets using cuneiform, the world's first system of writing. And among these ancient stories, carved into those fragile tablets, one figure towers above them all: Gilgamesh, the mighty king of Uruk. Unlike many heroes of myth, Gilgamesh was more than a legend. Historians believe he was a real man who ruled sometime around 2700 BCE. His name appears on king lists, and echoes of his rule are scattered across Mesopotamian records. But his story did not stay within the limits of history. Over time, it grew, twisted, and became something greater. Poets and storytellers shaped him into a demigod, part human, part divine, unstoppable in strength and ambition. His adventures became the subject of the Epic of Gilgamesh, a work that is now considered the oldest surviving piece of literature in the world. The epic tells us of a king who built towering walls, fought monsters, angered gods, and befriended a wild man named Enkidu. Together, Gilgamesh and Enkidu defied the heavens, killing the bull of heaven sent by the goddess Ishtar. But their arrogance brought punishment. Enkidu died, and Gilgamesh was left shattered. His grief opened his eyes to his own mortality. For the first time, the mighty king realized he, too, would die. That fear of death pushed him on a journey across the earth, seeking the secret to eternal life. He traveled seas, deserts, and even the land of the dead. He found wisdom but no immortality. In the end, he returned home, accepting that his name and his city would outlive him even if his body could not. But the epic leaves one haunting question: what happened to Gilgamesh after death? According to ancient traditions, his burial was unlike any other. It is said that his people diverted the mighty Euphrates River to create a hidden chamber beneath its waters. Inside, they placed his body in a sarcophagus, surrounded by treasures, inscriptions, and perhaps even knowledge too powerful to be seen. Once sealed, the river was allowed to flow back over it, hiding the tomb from the world forever. For thousands of years, this story remained a legend. But legends have a strange way of pulling us back to them. Fast forward to the modern era. Archaeologists began to uncover pieces of Mesopotamia, from the ruins of Babylon to the libraries of Nineveh. In 1853, fragments of the Epic of Gilgamesh were discovered on broken tablets, and slowly the world learned of the king's story again. Scholars debated, was the tomb real, or only a poetic image? Many dismissed it as myth. But others wondered, what if Gilgamesh's burial had actually happened as described? What if the tomb still lay hidden beneath the sands of a rock? By the late 20th century, technology offered a way to test that question. Using ground-penetrating radar and advanced scans, archaeologists could peer beneath the earth without lifting a shovel. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, a German team carried out such work near the ancient city of Uruk, Gilgamesh's city. What they reported seeing left them stunned: the outlines of massive underground structures, walls, and possibly even a burial chamber that matched descriptions of Gilgamesh's tomb. For a brief moment, it looked like one of the greatest discoveries in history had been made. But then, suddenly, the reports vanished. Interviews stopped. Files disappeared. And in 2003, war broke out in Iraq, throwing the entire region into chaos. This is where the story turns from archaeology into mystery. Because at the same time as these reports disappeared, the U.S. invasion began. Tanks rolled across deserts, bombs fell on cities, and looters stormed the National Museum of Iraq. More than 15,000 priceless artifacts, many from Mesopotamia's earliest days, were stolen. Among them was the Gilgamesh Dream Tablet, a fragment of the epic itself. Years later, that tablet resurfaced in the United States, sold for millions of dollars before being seized and returned. If something so rare and directly tied to Gilgamesh could be looted, people began to ask, what else was taken? And more chillingly, was Gilgamesh's tomb itself open during the chaos? The theories began almost immediately. Some believed the U.S. military had moved into the area of Uruk not just for war, but to secure the tomb. Eyewitnesses claimed to see heavy machinery and strange lights near the site. Rumors spread that the tomb contained not just bones and treasure, but knowledge of ancient technology, of advanced medicine, or even of immortality itself. Others went further, suggesting the tomb might hold something far more powerful, a stargate, a device that could connect worlds, a technology whispered about in the strangest corners of history. These theories may sound wild, but they only grow stronger because of the silence that surrounds the subject. Archaeologists who once spoke of the find no longer give interviews. Documents that once appeared online have been deleted. The site remains closed off, difficult to access, and shrouded in secrecy. And so, the fear grows. Some say archaeologists are afraid of curses. In Mesopotamian culture, disturbing the dead was dangerous, and kings were believed to be guarded by divine punishment. Others say the fear is practical: opening a 4,000-year-old tomb too quickly could destroy everything inside. Still others whisper that the tomb has already been opened, and what was found is simply too dangerous to reveal. Whatever the truth, the tomb of Gilgamesh has become one of the most mysterious stories in modern archaeology. It is not only about history. It is about fear, power, and the question of how much of the past should remain buried. Because if Gilgamesh was truly part god, and if his tomb holds secrets of life and death, opening it could change everything we know about humanity. Or it could bring disaster. This is where our story begins. From the legend of Gilgamesh, to the modern discovery, to the silence and conspiracies that followed, we will explore why archaeologists are so hesitant to open his tomb, and why the mystery refuses to die. The sands of Mesopotamia have always hidden secrets. Beneath the shifting soil and forgotten ruins lie stories older than pyramids, older than temples, and older even than the Bible itself. Among those stories, one name continues to rise through history like a shadow too large to ignore: Gilgamesh, the king of Uruk. His name is etched into clay tablets, sung in ancient poems, and carried through the winds of myth. Some call him a hero, others a tyrant, but nearly everyone agrees he was no ordinary man. Thousands of years ago, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the Sumerians built the world's first great cities. They invented writing, law, mathematics, and stories that gave shape to human imagination. In the heart of this land ruled Gilgamesh, a king remembered as 2/3 divine and 1/3 human. His adventures, later preserved in the Epic of Gilgamesh, tell of battles with monsters, encounters with gods, and a desperate quest to escape death itself. But the epic ends on a note that still haunts readers today: Gilgamesh fails. Despite all his strength, he cannot conquer mortality. And yet, legend whispers something else. Ancient texts hint that his people built him a tomb unlike any other. Not just a chamber of stone, but a resting place sealed by the Euphrates River itself. A grave hidden beneath the waters, guarded by nature and divinity. For thousands of years, this tomb was lost, its location swallowed by time. Wars came and went, civilizations rose and fell, but the rumor of Gilgamesh's final resting place never disappeared. In the modern age, archaeologists began searching for it with new tools, satellites, ground-penetrating radar, and the patience of science. In the early 2000s, reports emerged from Iraq that something extraordinary had been found beneath the ruins of Uruk. The radar scans seemed to reveal structures that matched descriptions of Gilgamesh's burial site. For a moment, the world stood on the edge of history's greatest discovery. But then, the trail went silent. Documents were removed, interviews stopped, and soon after, the chaos of war swept through Iraq. Ancient artifacts were looted, museums destroyed, and whispers grew louder. Had someone already entered Gilgamesh's tomb? Was the invasion of Iraq about more than politics and oil? Some conspiracy theorists believe world powers sought the tomb for a reason far darker, that within it lies not just a body, but secrets of life, death, and power beyond imagination. Whether truth or myth, the story of Gilgamesh's tomb is one of history's greatest mysteries. And as we explore it, we must ask, was it merely a legend, or has the king who searched for immortality left behind something that could still change the world today? In the heart of Mesopotamia, where the first cities once rose, there is a legend that refuses to die. It is the story of Gilgamesh, the mighty king of Uruk, part man, part god, and remembered as one of history's first great heroes. His adventures were carved into clay more than 4,000 years ago, creating the world's earliest known epic. But beyond the myths of battles and quests lies a mystery that still captures imaginations today: the secret of his tomb. Ancient writings suggest Gilgamesh was buried in a chamber unlike any other, sealed beneath the waters of the Euphrates River. For centuries, this tomb was lost to time, hidden by shifting sands and forgotten by empires. Yet in the modern age, technology and archaeology seem to bring it within reach again. Some claim it was found. Others insist it was covered up. What could be so important about a king's tomb that nations might hide it? Was it treasure, ancient knowledge, or something far more dangerous? This is not just a tale of history. It is a tale of power, mystery, and fear of what the past might reveal.